Hey there guys, it is SpooferJahk again with another Vadim M video thingamabob. Today I'll be doing something a bit different than usual, but first, let's give a bit of a background on today's video subject. Today if you want to read the news about video games, you just open up your favorite browser and surf the internet at will. Back in the quote-unquote glory days, the internet wasn't so commonly spread in a gamer's life. Thankfully, there were tons of video game magazines where people found out interesting and fresh news regarding the video game industry, rereading the same issue multiple times for those news morsels. It wouldn't be a surprise if I told you that these magazine articles contain lots of interesting information, tidbits, and just interesting facts, which you probably won't find on the internet today. That's why I'm proudly introducing to you a new project where we look at these magazine articles, find out what the developers promised us, and what we got in the end, or simply just taking a look back at them. Today's topic is related to the exclusive Grand Theft Auto 3 world premiere found in PlayStation 2 Official Magazine UK, issue number 3, which came out in January 2001. Grand Theft Auto 3 was released in October 2001, and it has a 10-month gap between this preview of the game and the initial release. So let's take a look at what kind of goodies lurk inside. While we're here, I want to give a huge thanks to Matt J155 for sharing these magnificent magazine scans. He is also a GTA 3 fan, so you might want to check out his channel. First of all, what we see here is the cover. Interestingly, Rockstar Games use a lot of strange game renders to present their future games. Of course, all this was done to make people think that the final version will look as great as the preview shots. But who cares, it was Grand Theft Auto, first of its kind in 3D. By turning the first preview page, we see this well-known render of Alpha Portland with a small introduction to the article. I want to say that in this video, I won't compare these early shots or renders with the final game, because this is a theme for another video, and if you want to read an article, it is best to pause the video. By turning the page, the world saw the first ever Grand Theft Auto 3 screenshots. Of course now you can find them on the internet, but back then it was quite a sight to behold. At the upper left corner, we see a few members from the development team who gave an interview in this magazine. From left to right, Dan Houser, co-founder of Rockstar Games, Andy Semple, Rockstar North Studio Manager, Leslie Benzies, Rockstar North Development Manager, and finally James Worrell, a level designer. Here's something unique. This is Grand Theft Auto 3, presumably a very early build running on a PlayStation 2 developer kit. As you can see, the game still uses an alpha HUD, which looks exactly like the one in this early screenshot. Don't worry, we'll return to this HUD later on. Let's start with an article. I will only point out interesting lines while you can read the others yourself. Before inventing the true names for the three islands, Portland was always referred to as Industrial, Staunton Commercial, and Shoreside Vale Suburban. Moving on a bit further, it is going to be said that these names stand for so-called districts later on. They'll be linked together by bridges, tunnels, train lines, and ferries. Sadly, the idea of traveling between the islands by ferries was entirely cut and forgotten. If we look at this old map sketch, we can see a strange watercraft near Asuka's place. Of course, this sketch suffers from very low quality, so here is an exclusive close look of the photo taken from the official German strategy guide. Can't say for sure if this is a ferry, but here is another interesting fact. This is a much later sketch of Staunton, but at this time it has some developer notes. On the left we have a list with what is already done and what needs to be finished. Have you noticed over here a ferry port, marina, and boat exit names? They aren't crossed yet, so I think they were still in the development. The only problem we have is that we don't know where they were placed. Later, the author of this article mentions that Rockstar Games wanted to make the docks to look like how it appears in Hoboken via the 1954 movie On the Waterfront. I have never seen this movie, but Hoboken in New Jersey has a well-known ferry terminal. As you can see, the developers had a very ambitious plan to implement ferries in this game, but later, for some reason, changed their plans. And finally, what we want to discuss on this page is this unseen render. Honestly, I have no idea what this place could be, that's why we will turn the page. Looky, we have some exclusive photos here from the developer's lair in England. Quite some exclusive stuff, I might say. The first portion seems to feature a very early design for Claude. Interestingly, these drafts look very close to these ones, which were released by the developers themselves for the 10th anniversary of this groundbreaking game, if you want to compare them. This second sketch of an unknown gang member was released a long time ago. Nothing really interesting to show here, sadly. The third sketch on this photo reminds me of this art. I am not sure who this might be. Unfortunately, the other ones are too blurry to analyze them. In the second photo, we can briefly see Shotgun, Imperator, and Callahan bridge renders. The Imperator render can now be seen at the Game On exhibition, which I want to cover in the near future. Other ones are already known. A bit to the right, we have a Portland render. Just take a look at these countless white spots on it. It looks like a very early render of the industrial district. I have added the oldest known render of Portland for comparison. A little bit further, we have two 8-ball drafts. It is known that the lower one was released to the public some time ago. If you are not aware, then here's an interesting fact. It states that 8-ball's real name is, or possibly was, Mulan. The next sketch features two men, and one of them is certainly Luigi. Why did I say one of them? Honestly, I think that the first man in the draft is Mickey, Luigi's bodyguard. Just look at them. These are two different men with different faces, but these are just my thoughts on the subject. And finally, this is Joey. Joey will be covered in more detail in a future video dealing with the Game On exhibition. Let's focus on another photo. You might have a question, what were these made for? Honestly, I don't know. Whether these are cutscene sketches or something different, I am uncertain, but what we know for sure is that this stuff is ancient. I hope you haven't forgotten the mention of the Alpha HUD, because now we'll be taking a closer look at it. Thanks to the article, we know how this Alpha HUD works. Letter A shows us the area for the wanted level. I assume that there are no stars displayed because the player does not have a felony. B is cash, C is the clock, E is health, F is the radar, which to that date did not have a map displayed. Let's look at this text. Each neighborhood naturally has its own colorful community consisting of tramps, prostitutes, pimps, street gangs, and innocent pedestrians taking the dog for a stroll. Dog, huh? Sounds interesting. Here's a Liberty Tree fictional article about the bum problem in the city. Another said, I was walking my dog, and a tramp tried to eat it. Luckily, I kicked the offending vagrant 30 or 40 times, so I think he learned his lesson. I doubt he'll be attacking an innocent dog again. But wait, there's more. Dog ban upheld. Article in the same fictional newspaper. See? They just played with you, and that's how the marketing works. With regard to which characters we will encounter, Hauser tells us, some of the popular characters such as Bubba and Brother Marcus from the first game will be returning, as well as characters from GTA London. They will appear alongside the gangs from GTA 2 because we now have the room to include them all. Well, in the final game, there are no such characters at all, as well as those gangs from GTA 2. I am also not sure if the Yakuza from GTA 2 are the same as the Yakuza from GTA 3. You might think, did these people just lie? If yes, where is truth and where is a lie in these articles? Well, just look at this very early in-game screenshot. On your right, you can clearly see the Zaibatsu Corporation emblem of the Japanese-American crime syndicate from GTA 2. What I am trying to say is that we know practically nothing about those early days. Just imagine for a second that the characters from GTA London were to return. Weren't they supposed to be very old or possibly dead? It seems like it was a bad idea. It was so bad that this quote from Hauser was brought up in a special ZVG issue with a header, Promises True or False. Here are some more interesting facts. It is stated that Grand Theft Auto makes use of a neat quasi-real-time clock which runs through 24 hours of game time in about 30 minutes. Actually, 1 in-game hour equals 1 minute in the real life. As a result, 24 hours runs in 24 minutes in the real life. Either someone pulled the number from a hat, or earlier there was another in-game clock algorithm. Here's another one. The 40 vehicles in the game all handle differently. According to the handling file, there are 57 vehicles in total, counting the RC Bandit, trains, and such, which means that the vehicle list was practically done in those early days, unless Leslie said a random number in the article. Right before turning the page again, there is an unseen render of Portland. As I said earlier, this will be the theme for the next video. Well, these are the last 2 pages of the article, and as we have been doing before, let's look at the screenshots. Here we can see an alpha cop, presumably in 3ds Max, where the cop model still has a mustache. This is my favorite shot. Looks like the photographer of this magazine freely walked in the studio and tried to convince everyone to make a good shot. Who knows how many photos were left unpublished. Sadly, I don't know this developer, but on the table you can spot yet another unseen render of Portland. Thanks to the modern scanning devices, it is possible to look at least briefly. And this last photo. The range of Grand Theft Auto children's toys never made it to the shop. Is it just me, or do I see Stan Marsh from South Park here? I don't think that the rabbit and the mouse are a true GTA toy. Even the New York looking police car doesn't really seem to be based on anything from GTA. Okay, the taxi actually looks to be from GTA 2, but can I be sure? Even the dude in the background thinks that the text for this photo is absolutely bullshit. When it comes to the article, there is nothing really interesting to point out except for this line. From the ability to ride trains, steal speedboats and board the ferry between islands, to enemy-specific insult button, GTA 3 will give you plenty to discover. Yet again, the developers highlighted ferries, but it is unclear if these ferries were used in all 3 islands or just 2 as it is in Liberty City Stories. And lastly, if you enjoy movies like myself, be sure to check out this piece of information where you will know which movies inspire these developers while making this game. As you can see, this magazine article gave us a chance to see almost forgotten stuff about possibly your favorite game. According to the Fansite archives, this magazine hit stores in early January. In theory, the information in it can be dated even earlier. We should consider that the journalists needed some time to see the developers in their studio in Edinburgh, Scotland, work with them and start writing the article. We also must factor in the holidays in December. I am pretty sure that this information can be dated as far back as December 2000 or even earlier. That's all I have for today's magazine analysis, and I hope everyone liked this new feature. If you have this kind of magazine right in your hands, I would be grateful if you send me some scans from it. If you want, you can start supporting me through Patreon. As a special thanks, every single month I will give you small updates as well as give you the opportunity to see upcoming videos a little earlier than everyone else. More information can be found in the description. As always, this is SpooferJahk, and thanks for watching.